Welcome to Online Marketing for Exporters. My name is Kim Kohatsu, and I am the founder of Charles Ave Marketing in Los Angeles. So as we talk about international online marketing, I'm going to start this talk off with a disclaimer. And that is that this presentation is mostly questions and not answers. And that's because every product is different and every part of the world is different. Too many variables exist for there to be any sort of universal approach to how you should market yourself online. And that being said, no matter what you're selling and to whom, you should make certain considerations, and those considerations will be the substance of my presentation today. So as you go about creating your online marketing plan, I'm going to offer a 3-step framework. So we'll go into each step in more detail, but the 3 steps are: first, to define your audience, then to create an online destination, and then to decide the right channels for promotion. Now, I cannot stress this enough. New networks or networks that are new to us are too often kind of a shiny object distraction rather than a strategic choice. So I need to get my product on TikTok is not a solid marketing plan. So do not begin at step 3. I encourage you to begin at step 1, which instead is defining your audience. What do I mean by that? So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, are you selling business to business, B2B, or are you selling direct to consumer, B2C? Now, the reason you want to know this is because selling a service is vastly different than selling a product. The decision cycle is going to be longer. It usually involves more people. Next, where does your target go for information? Who do they trust? So for example, in the US, internet users tend to trust organic search results more than paid ads. But seeing them both on the same search page lends more credibility to the business. And, maybe as you're thinking about this, you should also think about, are there any influential social accounts that you want to be aware of? Where does your target spend time online? What networks do they use? What media do they consume? So for example, are they watching videos? Are they listening to podcasts? Are they playing games? How does your target prefer to communicate? So would they rather email? Would they rather text? Do they want to have some sort of social messaging or chat option? How important is it that they can speak to a representative in their language and in their time zone? And lastly, what psychographic, demographic, behavioral traits does this target exhibit? So in other words, who is your target? What do they care about? So are they cost sensitive? Do they comparison shop? Are they reading third-party reviews? What gets them to feel confident enough to buy something? What are they considering along the way? Answering questions about who your audience is going to help you understand what you need to provide in order to set your product or service up for success. All right, step 2 is creating the destination. So taking all the audience info that we have just talked about into account before you start promoting, you'll have to have an online destination where you're going to send people. So where are you going to be sending these clicks? So are clicks going to go to your own website, or will they go to a marketplace like Amazon? Obviously, creating your own website is going to be more complicated, but it's also going to give you more control. So you're going to have to decide, things like whether you're going to keep your existing .com or whatever domain you already have and create a separate section, or whether you should create a localized, top-level domain, right? Like .co.jp, .co.uk, etc. And then you need to define what conversions are. So ask yourself, once someone lands on my site, what do I want them to do? And so for products, obviously sales, right, would be a conversion goal. But you might define softer conversions too, such as leads or video views, email opt-ins, things like that. And then you want to consider what devices your target is likely to use. So how important is the mobile experience, for example? How big is the average screen? Knowing this is going to help you determine what information sits above the fold and what information sits below the fold. And once you've done that, now you can decide your channels. As I said, too many businesses start by saying, you know, we need to be on TikTok or whatever the newest channel is. But you have to remember the world is big. The internet is even bigger. So your channel strategy is not a decision that you want to make impulsively or take lightly. I'm going to go through various groups of online channels. And I just want to say that one channel isn't better than another, and often they need to work together. But it does help to understand how each channel makes money, who uses it, and how long the effect of your promotion will last. Now, as we go through this chart, the text might start to get kind of small on your screen. So if you would like a copy of this deck, please just feel free to email me and I'll be happy to send it to you. So, all right, I'm going to start with organic search. In organic search, visibility is earned over time and by building your website correctly and by driving quality traffic to it. Now, organic search is the hardest. It takes the longest, right? It might take months or even years that require consistency and attention. But the dividends are often higher than some of the other channels because organic clicks are free. Now, in organic search, targeting is based on what consumers are looking for. And you know that by what they type, what query they put into their search engine. And so because they're actively looking for something, right, they went to the web to go looking for something, they are more likely to purchase than someone who's doing something else online, you know, like watching a video or what have you. Now, paid search works similarly to organic, but here the visibility is paid, right? So you can rank immediately once your campaign launches, but as soon as you stop paying, the traffic goes away. Now, paid search has several formats. These could be text ads, they could be display ads, video ads, but they could also take the form of product feed ads. So those include information like photos, price, star ratings. It might have some other information like descriptions, etc. And keeping product feeds up to date is a whole other discipline in itself. But in general, paid search works with consumer keywords and, you know, again, what they're inputting into the search engine. So this target is also motivated to buy because they're actively looking. Now, when we talk about organic social, this comprises posts to your own social feeds. And you should know that when it comes to business profiles, many platforms will give less visibility to organic posts. And they do that, number one, you know, for a better user experience, but it's also a way to push businesses towards paid. So any visibility that you get through organic social is going to be generally short-lived, usually a day and probably less. And so it requires consistency on your part. Thinking about conversions, remember that users haven't gone into a search engine and typed something in. So they're not looking for something, you know, like they would be in paid or organic search. Instead, they're looking at something, right? They're trying to catch up with their friends, or they're trying to give an update on their lives, or, you know, they're watching a video or what have you. And so you may be able to post something that catches their eye that they think is cool, and maybe you'll be lucky enough that they share it, and that's going to boost your visibility, and that's great. But purchases on organic social or through organic social are going to be less likely unless it's kind of an impulse purchase. So if your product is inexpensive, or you've got really great photography, those are times when a sale is more likely. But if your product is on the more expensive side, or if you're a service-based business, you want to keep your expectations for organic social pretty realistic, which means keep your expectations modest. Now, organic social can go beyond posting to your own channels. It may also entail engaging in social messaging with customers on platforms like Facebook Messenger, on Viber, or Telegram. You might need to provide ongoing support for existing customers, or you might need to answer questions of potential customers as they are considering a purchase. So think about that as well. Now, paid social offers purchase visibility, but instead of basing, your ads on what consumers are looking for, in other words, keywords, the targeting is more based on who they are. And that's because social media platforms have so much available data to use. And so this hyper-targeting helps you to be in front of the right people. But when it comes to buying products and services, you have to recognize that you also need to be there at the right time. So, your market might just not be in the mindset or in, the place in their lives that they want to buy what you're offering, even if they're the exact right kind of person. And so you need to keep that in mind as well. And then finally, influencer marketing is kind of a combination of paid and organic social. So rather than paying the social media channel, you're paying the influencer so that they mention your product or your service in their organic posts. Influencer strategies are especially big in Asia, and they're also big when targeting younger customers. So if you're interested in influencer marketing, you want to partner with someone whose audience is similar to yours. So depending on your product or your service, it might mean fashion influencers, it might mean food influencers, it might be mommy bloggers. But there even are some smaller B2B influencers. It really just depends on what it is that you're trying to promote. So these 5 columns represent general categories of online channels. And wherever you're exporting your goods and services, they're going to have specific channels within each of these columns. So within search and within social. So this chart shows some of the major search engines and social networks around the world. Now, this list is nowhere near exhaustive, but it helps to demonstrate the breadth of what's out there. So search engines, social media habits, they're going to vary region to region. So for example, Yandex is the biggest search engine in Russia, and WeChat is probably one of the biggest social networks in China. And then the people that I listed here as influencers are the ones that have the largest global Instagram followers. But again, remember, Instagram is only one network. Whatever your product or your service is, you're going to find a whole different set of influencers. And even channel to channel, the people that are influencers on Instagram may not be on TikTok, etc. So, the slide that I just showed you listed over 30 channels. My first bit of advice is don't try to be everywhere at once. You want to be able to understand the nuances of each channel and its audience. So for example, self-promotion and even to some extent paid promotion is really frowned upon by Reddit users. And the other thing you want to be able to understand region to region is any privacy laws governing the channel. So for instance, in Europe, you've got the GDPR. And if this is kind of your first foray into international online marketing, you might even think about launching in a secondary market just to sort of see how it goes before you launch in a major market like the US. Now, like I said at the beginning, this presentation is more questions than answers. And accounting for cultural differences is just going to be a huge part of what makes your online marketing effective. So if you've made it this far in the presentation, I assume you speak English. I want you to consider the idiosyncrasies between British English and American English, right, which I'm speaking right now. We have all of these like little quirks, right, even though we're technically speaking the same language. And now I want you to consider that the EU has 24 officially recognized languages. And you can see then, how much can potentially get lost in translation. So, I encourage you to go beyond just direct translation. You really need to understand what messages work in different contexts. So, for example, should your copy adopt a casual or formal tone? Germans are used to businesses addressing them formally. Here in the US, we're much less formal. What color psychology might be at play? So in Western cultures, for instance, Black, maybe sophisticated, maybe, classy, classic, right? But it's also the color associated with death and mourning. In Japan, death and mourning is associated with white, right? So especially as you're marketing physical products, you might want to think about those color choices. And on your website too, you want to think about that as well. And then how safe do buyers feel on your site? Now remember, when it comes to online marketing, we're talking about buying, we're talking about money. So if a site is clearly, not in the language that you're used to or the currency that you're used to dealing with, you're going to be a little bit, uneasy. So buyers really need to trust that their money and their privacy is not at risk. And you need to consider, what you need to provide in order to make that customer feel safe. So consider, for instance, what payment methods is your market most comfortable with? It might not be credit cards. It might be invoicing. It might be bank transfer. You need to find out. And if you're able to, I would say ask the market before going to market. And what I mean by that is have native speakers in the target region give you a sanity check. And so one way to do this is if you are entering the US, I would definitely recommend a product called PickFu. It's a website and a company that I've worked with closely for several years. I'm the CMO there. What PickFu enables you to do is ask a question of Americans here and just sort of see if your message is resonating. So let me give you an example. You can basically, like I said, you can quickly test ads, ideas, people living in America. So here, what this person asked is, which name do you like more for an online designer homeware shop? And the audience that answered the poll was 50 women. They were voting between two options, Hiatus State and Hiatus Studio. Now, I want you to think about this. Hiatus State is not linguistically wrong, right? No spell checker, no grammar software is going to flag that. But to American ears, Hiatus State came across like a blank state of mind. So I want you to look at some of these direct quotes from the women who responded to this poll. The first thing that pops into my mind is a lobotomy. It sounds like somebody is just out. It implies they are completely gone and not accepting business. The website is offline for a while, right? No business wants to convey this message. So by running this poll, this business was able to save itself a lot of headache and heartache before going to market with, this company name. Now, message testing can also prevent really bad mishaps, such as unintended offensive language or innuendo. But even, this minor kind of just off message damages trust in your brand. It makes shoppers leery about buying because it's clear that you aren't really speaking to them. So you want to make sure that your message works where you need it to work and with the people you need to respond positively. So, in conclusion, before you create an international online marketing strategy, you need to ask a lot of questions to understand the nuances of each channel and each market. So, we went through a 3-step plan to create your online marketing strategy. You're first going to define the audience, then you're going to create the destination, and then you're going to decide what channels you are going to look at in that order. Before you launch any campaign, you want to account for cultural differences, and you want to get native speakers to check your messaging and make sure it's saying what you want it to say. Taken together, your new campaign is much more likely to be a success. With that, I want to thank you for watching. If you'd like a copy of this slide deck, or if you want to get in touch with me, please email me at the address shown here. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you.